Rank officially wins the purse bid over Takeover Promotions by about $6 million for the tune of about $8.5 million earlier this morning to win the rights to Keyshawn Davis's title challenge against undefeated WBO welterweight champion Devin Haney. They win it with 8.5 mil. The locations they are proposing is either Mandalay Bay here in Vegas, Barclays Center in Brooklyn, or in Atlanta. Devin Haney's already letting it be known he would like the fight to be in Atlanta. But to take it back to last Saturday, the things floating around from Dan Raphael, from other people on social media, were things I was hearing back on Saturday, that Keyshawn Davis had a $3 million offer from Top Rank that he apparently wasn't on his way to accepting, and if that holds true, that is indeed true. He lets it go to a purse bid, and now he's entitled to about $2.1 million. So that was something I was hearing, but I didn't want to report on it on the show yet because I couldn't get in touch with Keyshawn Davis. I called around recently with this news coming official to people trying to get close to other sources that would be more in the vicinity, in the sphere of influence of Keyshawn Davis. Unfortunately, I wasn't told anything to offset this, but I didn't want to go there without getting two sides to this story. And but I did hear from multiple sources, more than one, that he was offered $3 million from Top Rank. He was going to turn it down. Looks like that may indeed be true. Again, it'd be nice to hear from Keyshawn's side, but he's silent right now. So where we're at is where we're at. And apparently, Devin Haney, as reported by Dan, he has a guarantee by DAZN, per his deal that we reported last week, that $6.5 million, it's going to be a bigger number than that. And that really, this purse bid was really all about what is Keyshawn Davis going to make. And I don't know if Top Rank will say, all right, we'll still give you the $3 million as originally agreed upon. I don't know if they signed Frank Martin as a plan B in case this fight with Devin does fall through. I heard that Keyshawn may have 2 more fights left with Top Rank, and part of me wonder, in the way a lot of Top Rank contracts work, if you win a world title, that grants an automatic extension to Top Rank. So is he thinking of finishing out this deal so he can get the kind of big money in his mind that Shakur got at Zuffa? Is that not the case? We don't know what's going on with Keyshawn Davis. The consensus on social media right now is that it's a bad look, understandably. Devin Haney is the guy out of this glove triangle with him, Shakur, and Keyshawn, who is coming out smelling like roses right now. Shakur asked for a catch weight. Keyshawn has been calling him out for months, since the beginning of the year, really, even heading into Jermaine Ortiz. Devin is now saying, all right, let's make it happen. I got my side done. Let's make it happen. And Keyshawn is nowhere to be heard from. So Devin has won the PR war. I just saw a video of him on Fight Hype where he looks very sharp in the gym. So he's looking not just sharp with his PR skills, but looking sharp in the boxing ring for this fight. And lastly, Raheem, and I apologize for rambling here, we talk about the fight before the fight and how that's a very important aspect before you get to actual fight week and everything. Keyshawn Davis has lost the fight before the fight. That doesn't mean he would lose the actual fight, but go ahead. What do you think of everything?
Okay,
Raheem?
before we get to that part, which is important, I like how you set the stage. So let's deal with the set dressing, if you will. What are we actually looking at? The businessman, named, right? I don't know that he got that from any other business people, but he's put himself forward as a self-proclaimed businessman. I'm not prepared just yet to assume that he's done poor business. This disappearance, well, last time he disappeared, right, we saw him on a porch claiming he was on vacation and simply wasn't available on his phone, and we were all tripping. Okay, fair enough. But I think he was taking a page out of Shakur's book and disappearing, not being available for comment, not being available to, air quotes, negotiate, and that is a form of negotiation. Sometimes silence is the loudest speak. And so if, in fact, he believes he's worth more than $3 million, I'm sure he believes he's worth more than 2.2. And if that's the case, then we're going to see how good at business the self-proclaimed businessman is. This part of the negotiation, and it's still a negotiation, no contract has been signed. In fact, him being a top-ranked fighter, I'll use a quote that was told to me by Peter Nelson of Bob Arum when Peter was incredibly frustrated with Top Rank trying to get deals done at HBO and hold Top Rank to contractual agreements. And Bob, according to Peter Nelson, would always come back and add a little bit more, one more concession, or want this changed. And the contract had already been signed. And Bob's Arum position was a signed contract is just the beginning of the negotiation. So if we only have a signed contract, we certainly don't have a fleshed out agreement yet. If in fact Keyshawn believes he's worth more than the $2.2 million and worth maybe even more than the $3 million he was offered reportedly, then he still has some cards to play. If he's 2 fights out of his deal and a title immediately triggers an extension, well, maybe his play is, I'm going to win this title. And that means that I'm automatically getting an extension on a deal already inked, and he's trying to play hardball with Top Rank and force them to pay him more for a title he intends to win, so that when that extension comes up, he's in a better position. He wants to renegotiate now, right? He wants to renegotiate before he becomes champion. And I think he's going to find out just how much confidence Top Rank has in him winning this fight. But you don't negotiate this way if you don't have a second play, if you don't have a plan B. And I mean, you don't have to be even a businessman to know that. You can be a simple person in business. I believe there is a second play, and I think that second play still is Zuffa. I think there's a world in which Keyshawn turns this fight down, fulfills his 2-fight contract, goes to Zuffa. His management already has their prize pony at Zuffa. Mm-hmm. There's obviously a relationship there.
Trains at the UFC Performance Institute for years now. Yeah.
And if Keyshawn doesn't want to extend with Top Rank, no matter what, well, then winning this title with them might make it harder for him to do what he actually wants to do, or what his management wants him to do. Because one of two things has happened. Either the internet is correct and Keyshawn's gotten way out over his skis, overestimated his value, embarrassed himself in business, and has lost near $1 million in the process. Or Jay Prince is really the puppet master of all of this, has gotten Shakur out of this fight, put Keyshawn in line for a title fight, will now play against the interest of Top Rank for Zuffa, and Keyshawn can either decide to get a lot more money by forcing Top Rank to pay him that money to keep him, or maybe create an extension that he could get from Top Rank he otherwise wouldn't get, or play them out for these last 2 fights, and then go to Zuffa before he challenges for a title, which, according to this latest UBO legislation put on the floor of the Senate, they're open now officially to working with the sanctioning bodies and allowing their fighters to fight for sanctioned titles. Mm-hmm. That latter is what I believe is the actual play. So in his mind, he doesn't lose one way or the other, and he gets this thing done on his own terms. Of course, we'll have to watch all that play out, but I think the criticism and the assumption that Keyshawn's just an idiot and has made some incredibly poor business moves with no forethought, or has incredibly overestimated his value, because his value is also your value is what somebody's willing to pay for you. What is Zuffa willing to pay? I bet it's a lot more than Top Rank is. And if the recent history has taught us anything, if your manager has a relationship with Zuffa, part of why your management has a relationship is because they expect your manager eventually to bring over every fighter he advises or she advises. And the idea that Keyshawn Davis is not on that track, why wouldn't he be?
Interesting. Good stuff, Radio Raheem. What about this, too? Well, I also heard that there's still the off chance that Turkey would want Shakur and Haney. And even though Haney has apparently signed this deal with DAZN, Ryan Garcia's with DAZN. He has one more fight with DAZN after this, guaranteed. And he's fighting in September on Paramount. And if it's a bigger fight, you could always put it on Netflix, right? So I've heard that's even still in play if this falls through, or, things complicate this fight negotiation. But what I want to ask you too, Raheem, this may sound absurd to people in the boxing business, so forgive me if it is, but is there a chance Keyshawn tries to tell Top Rank, well, if the network is guaranteeing Haney's purse, and you've already put $8.5 million on the table, and again, you're not really on the hook for Haney's end, that's coming from DAZN, why don't you give me a bigger slice of that $8.5 million then? Some of that goes to me, or I don't know, or is that...
I mean, on what grounds?
It just don't work that way,
On what grounds? We already offered you twice your biggest purse ever. You've never fought at this weight before. You're a world champion, but at 35.
So is it possible he has just overestimated as well? I like what you're saying. It makes sense too.
Yeah, how much did we have to pay to get you into that WBO #1 ranking in the first place? Even if whether it be in money or favors, obviously it's suspicious that you're even in position to be a mandatory. Like how much this is a test at how bad Top Rank wants to keep him happy and what they value him at and how much they believe that he maybe really does win this fight.
But to your point, was that a what Bob's order Top Rank move, or was it Jay Prince's move? Kind of more independently than doing it alongside Top Rank putting any effort or resources into getting that mandatory position?
I think even in the Devin Haney situation here with this purse bid, there's always a bit of collusion between the big entities, right? Like Devin Haney doesn't get this purse bid to this number with what is effectively a guarantee, right? He's already worked out the numbers before this thing even goes to bid. And right. DAZN steps in to support Devin Haney Promotions to make sure that he gets his bottom line guaranteed number. So that's why he's already signed on, because the deal's already cooked. On the other side, it would be the same to some degree, even though they're not entirely in control, right? I would believe that Top Rank and Jay Prince would have some collusion and coming up with that first $3 million agreement, right? And in this case, they would also, have some common interest in the play of Plan A. The Plan B play is the one that Jay Prince is doing on his own over at Zuffa, so that Keyshawn has two viable tracks. And this is me suggesting, without having any intel, but just reading the room, my thought is that Jay would prefer that ultimately Keyshawn be a Zuffa fighter. I think he makes more money there. He is more valuable there. There's more upside to them, and they're right now willing to overpay, and that's where his brother is, right? Like, that makes the most sense and is likely got the most upside for Keyshawn. However, this deal being on the table, an opportunity for potentially to win a world title, is not nothing. And maybe in a perfect world for Jay Prince and Keyshawn, to be fair, is that he manages to win this world title without a long extension with Top Rank and can take that credibility, that title, to Zuffa. But that's what I'm saying. So maybe therein lies the negotiation. Okay, well, this triggers an automatic extension. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll take the less money and you kill that extension trigger. Or I just don't do this fight and you line me up with two other fights and I'm gone. Like, that's where the negotiation is right now if you're a businessman, right? Everybody's clowning you, laughing at you. You lost $1 million, but you haven't signed anything. So technically you haven't lost anything. If $3 million wasn't enough, they're not willing to go over $3 million. Well, it doesn't matter if they offer 50 cents after that. If you're not getting more than $3 million, well, you're still turning the fight down. Unless you can get some other concession that's worth more to you than $1 million plus, which might be an opportunity to get out of that Top Rank contract so you can ultimately get the big bag at Zuffa 3 fights down the road. Because you can tell that when you talk to Dana White, or when you watch him at a press conference anyway, they're expecting Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia's in the batter's box. They know he's coming, right? They're just waiting out his contract.
He's in the wrestling ring.
They'd happily wait out the contract of Keyshawn. Like, he's talking about wait until you see what we do by January 1st. That's because he knows people are in line. He knows, and, again, this is me speculating. I have no firsthand information, but what would be in a lot of maybe legalese considered tampering to some degree if that was really happening. But they're clearly having conversations with fighters who are not outside of their contract just yet. And those fighters, whether there is a expressed verbal agreement or a wink and a nudge or simply we can get them. This is what I believe is happening and why promoters and such are suing these guys and are so upset. And I think Oscar might have come out and actually claimed that they're talking to fighters in contract and you can't do that. And Eddie Hearn suggested the same.
Right.
It's because they know these guys are lined up to get that Zuffa bag, and they know when everybody's contract expires. The manager will tell you that secretly, right? They will leak that information, what the terms of the deal is. Anytime you deal with a promoter or somebody's trying to sign somebody and they're still in contract, the cherished information, the intel that the promoter immediately wants is, can you get me the contract? Can you tell me what the contract says? They're looking for loopholes to get them out early, or when this thing expires, and what are the kind of triggers that you talk about with this, like winning a title and so forth. Everybody who wants to sign somebody who's already in a contract wants to see the existing contract for those reasons. That's the same thing Zuffa's doing, and I believe there's going to be a domino effect towards the end of the year of fighters who are out of their current contracts signing to Zuffa, and that's why Dana White is pointing to Jan 1st as when you want to be judged.
And don't forget, Benavidez' deal is up with one more fight as well. It's to that point.
See what I'm talking about? Like, this thing, it plays out exactly that way, bro.
Okay, so ultimately, unfortunately, it wouldn't be surprising if after 2 months of online back and forth between Devin, Keyshawn, Shakur, if it all kind of fizzles out. But do you think, Raheem, because you're cooking right now, do you think, I mean, it wouldn't be a good look, right, for Keyshawn Davis, to say the least. And it'd be a good, very good look for Devin Haney. But you know how these guys are wired. Ultimately, they find a way to block that out and not really give a shit and do what they feel is best for them. Do you think we have a fight here? Or which way would you lean towards? Where October, Haney and Keyshawn Davis is on, or would you lean toward it's not?
I think it's on, and I believe that Keyshawn gets some concession with that trigger of the extension. Because if he doesn't, it really is an incredibly terrible business move. And there's really no motivation, if I'm correct, about the next play going to Zuffa for him to do this. Yes, it's going to look bad. We're going to eviscerate him right here on this show and many others. But ultimately, if the name of the game these days is the bag, well, this ain't the play for the bag. And he doesn't win the fight. So there's also that.
Like, you don't think he wins the fight, you're saying?
Like, you know, that's the other little problem here. You kind of got to, if you go this route, you got to win that fight. Because what you don't want to do is take less money and lose the fight. Right? So the way to not lose the fight, first of all, is not fight the fight. And the way to give a nod to your Zuffa suitors is to hold off on this fight until you become a Zuffa fighter so that they can get you the big fight, so that they can potentially negotiate you into your first world title shot. And this is a weight class you've never even competed in before. So technically, you're not even ducking a fight in the sense that you're not even in the weight class. You say you're worth more. 2 fights down the line, you get a much bigger bag. You're well young enough. You've never been defeated for a world title before. You can, you know, this time next year, be fighting for a world title. And while we might bring this up, what do you care? You've got more money. The deal will be better. You'll be on a platform with a contract you like more with your brother, and you'll have seemed to have orchestrated this whole thing perfectly, and it'll be Top Rank who really loses out.
It will be a duck, though. Ultimately, if you call a guy out, you get mandated, you tell Bill, you got to stand on your word and everything. You will literally make Devin Haney look like Debo. Like, he pulled up on the block, and you and Shakur didn't really want the smoke after all. But
to me, this is on Shakur. This is I mean, yes, I understand what you're saying, but I still say, listen, this was orchestrated by Shakur Stevenson, who ran to the hills. And he said that he wouldn't step in front of his brother's opportunity to get a world title shot. They negotiated him into this position. He said, you got to fight Keyshawn first. If Keyshawn doesn't accept the fight at this point, for whatever reason, it's not that Keyshawn necessarily is the big duck. It's either he got played by his brother or Shakur's the duck. And knowing that this fight was never going to happen unless they overpaid Keyshawn, which is a hell of an assumption to make, which also has nothing to do with competition on its face. Now this is really just all about money negotiations and maneuvers and trying to put yourself in a position business-wise. And you're the businessman, but you're not the big man. Keyshawn is pulling the strings. Keyshawn's not pulling the strings. Shakur's pulling the strings. And that would mean that Jay Prince is really functioning in Shakur's best interest to the detriment of Keyshawn, or you're willing to gamble with Keyshawn's future in a way that I would think I wouldn't want my representative to be willing to gamble with me for the benefit of another fighter. They strung the Haneys along. If neither one of these guys ends up fighting, that's not all on Keyshawn. The glove triangle moves to Jay, Shakur, and Keyshawn's the bottom.
On a separate note, Gustavo Oliveri.
He know how to do that now. He's like, okay.
Yeah, no, hey, sometimes in the half court offense, and a guy is putting up a lot of shots and he's on fire. Sometimes you gotta Derek Fisher this thing. You gotta just initiate the triangle and let Kobe and Shaq get to work, okay, and space the floor a little bit. That's all I'm doing for you. I'm spacing this episode. You're putting up good shots. Gustavo Oliveri, the president of the WBO. I appreciate the effort, and I believe Bernard Hopkins, it might have been the WBA. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think it might have been the WBO with Paco Varcasel. And now Gustavo's the new man, the new lead of that organization. I think Bernard pulled up it might have been Florida, wherever they had their convention. And Bernard Hopkins pulled up and, hey, you got to get your shit together, right? And so I appreciate the transparency with this public purse bid, the unified, which is unprecedented, between them and the IBF to hold a co-sanctioning body thing, that they're going to be having soon, convention. But at the same time, this was a bit of a mockery, and made definitely a mockery by Teofimo Lopez having his guy show up with 2.3. You gotta almost appreciate the commitment to the bit. Literally putting $2,000 down. The guy protesting, well, his envelope wasn't open. His envelope was open, so therefore we would bid. But I don't know. It's promoters that are in good standing. When it feels like from the outside looking in, even if this is silly on my viewpoint, anybody should be able to call in, and if they have, but just seeing the walls put up for it has to be a promoter in good standing, and Takeover Promotions is in good standing. They just existed like 13 days ago. And what have they done to be in good standing with the WBO so far? But, I appreciate the transparency, and I think Hopkins' point to them at their last convention hit home. But it was a bit silly, this whole ordeal. And lastly, speaking of the IBF, I do wonder if that's the backup option. If there is no Shakur, Netflix still in play, if Keyshawn balks and fights Frank Martin or something like that, I wonder if Liam Paro is the first fight on this DAZN deal, who is the IBF champion in an IBF WBO unification.
Yeah, that latter point you make is another way that Zuffa could stick it to DAZN by maneuvering Keyshawn off this fight. And when I say Zuffa, I really mean Jay Prince in the interest of a Zuffa deal down the road. Because now DAZN has, no disrespect to Para, but has a much lesser attractive fight. This is not will not be the
Paro.
kind
Oh,
of
you didn't even give him the
Paro.
right vowel at the end of his name.
Yes,
Para.
the masculine version. It's no disrespect to him at all. I'm just saying it's not a bigger. It's not certainly not a bigger fight. Not even as big a fight, and it ain't even the big fight that they were initially hoping for, right? So that makes the product at the zone less valuable, getting less attention. It shorts Devin Haney's money. It's a win for Zuffa again if that
Who
happens.
doesn't short our money, Radio Raheem? Don't get it fucked up.
Well,
You're getting the same bag regardless.
yeah, I'm not sure that that's true because you're a promoter now. So the size of the fight does matter to you, and the guarantees now are important to you. You're at another level of the business. So yeah, if the fight's not as big, you're not getting as big of money overall. And for a multitude of reasons, obviously you'd rather the bigger fight that you believe Devin Haney wins. So yeah, that's another win for them. And the Teofimo bid, it's a troll bid, but to me, it's not just a troll of the process. That's yet another troll of Shakur. Well, why isn't Shakur? I mean, listen, man, if your guy who you put in this position, who you forced to step in front of you, who you say is the gatekeeper to a fight with you, who you claim is going to beat Devin Haney anyway, who you wouldn't step in front of his opportunity to get a world title. Well, okay, you won't step in front of his opportunity to get a world title by taking that title shot, which is the fight that the champion actually wants. But now, will you save a title shot for your little bro, since you're part of orchestrating this whole scenario in the first place? And I'm sure if you had advised him to take the $3 million, if Jay Prince had told him to take the $3 million, then he would have taken the $3 million and would have a title shot being paid $3 million. And now that he's not getting even that, will you make up the difference? Or how come you didn't bid for the fight since it's worth more, since your little bro's worth more, and now you've got a big bag yourself? How come you don't get into the promoter business and promote little bro for his first title shot? And then it'd be a co-promotion with DPH and Shakur Stevenson Promotions.
DHP. DHP.
What
the
I say?
DPH.
Okay.
Paro, DPA. I'm here to help.
I'm old. I'm confused. I don't know what I'm saying. Thank you for the correction. I'm happy when you correct me like this. That way I don't have to read 5 comments. DPH. Or is it DHP?
That's all I'm trying to do. Just trying to help.
Let's head some of this off at the pass. However you get my meaning, right? You'll forgive my verbal typos, but you get where I'm saying.
Yeah.
That it's kind of showing him up. Like you didn't even get involved in the process that you could have gotten involved in. And now I think that's the question for me. Hey, maybe you find a commercial deal to supplement this income for your little bro, Shakur. You got a huge bag now. And I think we know that Keyshawn is probably headed to Zuffa, right? So do your bro a service. Make sure now that he gets that title fight and that he gets the money that he is worth, according to him and you. You could do something as simple as give him the money and then bet on him to win the fight, and you can win your money back at the casino and not lose a dime, maybe even make a profit. Like, this is an interesting situation that they've gotten themselves into, because we're going to end up at the end of this knowing who really believes what. Who believes in who? Whose priorities lie where? At the end of this process, I think we're going to get a lot of those answers.